Up in a place like the Bay Area, we always knew that there were certain places where certain types of individuals, a certain demographic of people would congregate and come together and party and BS and, do what they did. We knew that if you wanted to spare your life, if you wanted the highest chances of living through that weekend, you did not go to those places and you would not be around those types of people. Like, I remember one specific time way back in the day when Chris Brown came to visit the Bay Area, and he went to some club or lounge or whatever it was, to do his pop out, show out, 100,000 dip. In the 30 to 45 minutes that Briss Breezy was in the Bay Area, there was a in the very same location. Imagine that. You have this quote unquote global superstar coming down to a local spot, and that very same spot ends up getting pumed. Now, I remember another time, I think it was maybe the last real concert I went to. It was a Wiz Khalifa concert. I know, this was way back. It was a Wiz Khalifa concert, and I believe Young Jeezy was one of the openers. It was a huge, arena sort of space when Wiz was popping. So openers were the likes of Young Jeezy and, other artists who maybe had their time back in the day. Anyway, at that concert, a Wiz Khalifa concert where you would think is nothing but peace-loving, quote unquote, hippies, somebody got pumed. Yeah. And it turns out that it was one of the fans who came for Young Jeezy. Out of all people who came and performed that night, it was a Young Jeezy fan who sprayed the spot up. And so when I heard this story about what happened recently at a Lil Boosie concert, for those of y'all who do not know who Lil Boosie is, maybe you're better off, right? But he is a street rapper. He is quote unquote stamped. He is certified in these streets, which is not a compliment, but that's what he is, and that's what his music is based upon. And so was I surprised to hear the news that 3 people almost had their lives taken. I think 2 are in critical condition, if not all 3. And frankly, I got to keep up with the news just of today to see if those people are even still alive. But the reason I decided to cover this story is because it breaks my heart that there is almost this stereotype or this trope, this known thing that, we can't just come together and there not be a fight and there not be a shootout. Right? That's like a known thing within quote unquote said black culture or whatever is being proposed to us as the mainstream black culture. It's as if we just can't come together for an event with individuals who look just like this in mass without there being somebody's life in danger. And I'm not saying this is every single time. That would be disingenuous. But you and I have heard enough stories and maybe likely seen something within our own lives. I've stopped partying and even going out and things of that nature around 21. I was tired out of that entire lifestyle. I started partying at 14 years old, smoked my first J when I was around 14, 15, and was hooked until I was around 19, almost 20 years old. I was gone to that lifestyle. I never really had this appetite for it as an adult, but I got to see enough in my teen years to understand what this was really about, especially being surrounded by people in the music industry and things of that nature, where if you were going to go to a location, you had to be certain, you had to be sure that you either were going with the individuals who are the most respected in those spaces, or you just don't go at all, right? You were better off not going. And again, there are places that, don't have that reputation where things happen. There is an Ariana Grande concert where, somebody came to spray the whole place up. I get that. I fully understand it. But when it comes to these quote unquote ghetto sort of environments, you and I both know what likely comes with those types of places. Why does it always have to be in these specific types of, whether it is locations or these types of individuals coming together? Why does it have to be somebody who looks just like you to be the one that you are most afraid to be around? I'll be real about it. I remember there was a girl who was going viral a while back, maybe on TikTok or something, and she was being seen as some sort of, self-hating black woman or whatever, because she said, sometimes she has fear of Fear of people who look just like her in certain neighborhoods or certain places and, dressed in a certain way or presenting themselves in a certain way, moving through life. She has a fear. And to me, I say that's discernment and wisdom. If I saw somebody coming up to me and they were dressed like they was white robe, right? Pointy white hat, I would be afraid for my life because they would be projecting to me that they're probably not the person that I want to be engaging with. They're likely not the person that I want to be confronted by, right? Let's be real about that. So if I see somebody coming up to me, pants hanging all the way off the drawers, right? They got the deep hoodie on like this. Maybe they got a shiesty on or something of that nature. They got the same Jordans, the same breads, the same. There's a look to it, and there's a menacing look in the eyes. I am immediately assuming that this is not an individual I want to engage with. You can call it judgment all you want. I call that survival. I call that intelligence. Because imagine how many people went to a location like this. Like, you could be the quote unquote innocent individual who went there. Maybe you just enjoy Boosie's music so much, right? Maybe you're not ratchet. Maybe you're not really actually active in that lifestyle, but you just so happen to like that music. Like, I've been in suburban areas like Palo Alto in the Bay Area. The real, not East Palo Alto, but like Palo Alto. You understand me? Facebook Palo Alto. And I remember, driving up to a stop sign. I'm hearing Gucci Mane blasting from the background. Not a mainstream song. This is some underground, like Gucci, like his 55th mixtape. You know what I mean? Track 7. And the car pulls up, and it's a middle-aged white man in a suit in, big body Mercedes, I believe it was. And I look over, and I'm like, well, you got fans all over the world. It does make sense. Now imagine that dude right there just loves some Gucci Mane, ends up going to a Gucci concert, and ends up getting pumed. That's what I mean by discernment. There are certain places you can't go, and there's certain types of individuals that you cannot be around. I did an entire video saying why I avoid ghetto people. I didn't say black. I didn't say brown, because ghetto was a mindset. There are some white folks I look at and I'm like, that is nothing but ghetto right there. That's a ghetto fixed mindset. That's an individual who is given over to a life of criminality. That's an individual who's given over to a life of the streets or whatever it may be, right? Dysfunction, toxicity. Me and my girl recently watched, J.D. Vance's story. What is it? Hillbilly LG, I believe. That boy grew up in the ghetto. It was a white ghetto, but he grew up in the ghetto nonetheless. And his mama was a product of the ghetto. She was a junkie. She had the victim mentality. She was always blaming everybody else for what was going on in her life, always dragging everybody else down with her, getting fired from this job and that job, getting kicked out of this spot and that spot, not able to ever hold anything down, getting with the man just so she could make sure that she was taken care of financially. That's a ghetto mentality right there. But when I heard this story, I said, man, I gotta get into this, because it's not just about this one case. It's about the theme. And that's what I look at. I look at things as far as patterns. If it happens once, it's an incident. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. If it happens 3 times, it is a pattern. And I see a pattern here. And I thought that this was something that happened maybe on rare occasions, or it would find its end at some point. Especially within the said quote unquote black community or the hip hop community. But unfortunately, stories like this are popping out all the time. There's recently another story of an up and coming rapper, Lil Ronnie, I believe his name is. I might get into that story, where he and his beautiful young daughter's lives were taken by one of his quote unquote ops. Like, imagine that. He's with his child. She is innocent. She has nothing to do with anything. Who knows what Pops was into, but they both end up having their lives taken because those streets love nobody. They care for nobody. And as they used to say, a bullet has no name. And so for me, I say, man, if you are somebody who is not given over to that lifestyle, you're not in that ghetto mentality, whatever it is, you need to separate yourself from these elements. The amount of people I cut out of my life because they were not willing to get out of that space. The amount of individuals I used to call my brothers on one day, years of my life. And I had to wake up one morning and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't be around these people. This is dangerous. If I was complicit in those behaviors still, if I had not made a decision to get sober, to get out the streets, then that's different. I'm a participant and I deserve whatever comes with that. But the moment that I made a decision to change, to get out of that lifestyle, then I have the right to say, you know what? I'm just not going to be around these individuals. I'm cool off that. I got love for you, but from a distance. If you want to continue living in this way, that's between you and you. You understand? But as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to get caught up in what you're in. You never know what somebody is on. You never know, what somebody is involved with. Somebody gets stopped. You're in the car. They pop the trunk. Guess what's in there? I was in a situation where in the glove compartment of my car, my homeboy had left, what was it? At least a quarter pound. And I'm not talking about Mickey D's. He had left a few ounces in my glove compartment. I didn't even know. He had stuffed them in there. And I was driving back to the house. He was at my crib. He was, taking a nap before he jet back out and did what he did. But I got stopped. I opened that glove compartment to get my registration. My heart stopped in real time. In real time. Maybe one day I'll go through some of these crazy situations that I've gone through. I don't like to, because I don't like to celebrate and see it as something that's cool. Honestly, my life was spared and saved multitudes of times. Now, thankfully, I was in California, and thankfully the police that were, at my door, I don't know what they were on that day. I don't know. All I can say is God's hand. That's all I ever say about it, because I don't understand it, but they let me go. They let me go without a ticket, without having me in handcuffs, any of that. That's why also when people tell me the story of as a young black man, white police officers are out for your life, I don't buy into that. I've been through too many situations that have been the complete opposite or so neutral that you can't justify that to me. Maybe some people have been through different situations. I get that. And I'm not going to disqualify anybody else's story, but I can't lie about my own story. And I can only base things off of my own anecdotal experiences. But I digress. So this story, I just wanted to highlight because, again, when you have individuals who are the most prominent within a culture, Lil Boosie is seen as a somebody. Unfortunately, he is seen as a hero. We pedestalize the rappers, etc. And I used to be the exact same way. Coming up, I thought that 50 Cent, I was going to say Ja Rule, but Ja Rule got fully eliminated. Even though I used to love Ja Rule's music back in the day, these were the people we looked up to, and we listened to them, and their word was bond. Their word was gospel for us. Until I matured to a space to understand that these individuals are not only flawed, but these are the people who are expressing the most negative aspects of not just the culture, but us as humans, the most primitive aspects, the most animalistic. These people are expressing the very opposite of what brings life. And so when we have these types of situations, of course, the streets don't care. The streets have no love for you. They don't. When you pull up to that, to that Boosie concert, when you pull up to see Young Jeezy or whatever it is, that energy is going to follow. And I'm keen on making sure that, I understand that energy dynamics are real. So what I am allowing in is always going to influence not just my behavior, but also what I bring into my life. And also what I allow into my life. Some can call it attraction or whatever it may be, but I'm well aware of that. If I continue to, pollute my mind and saturate it with those ideas indiscriminately and not use my rational thinking, it might be different if you're listening to those songs in the gym, pumping iron, then you're allowing these to be the soundtracks to your life. Then you end up at a Boosie concert and you end up losing your life. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate. I truly hope that everybody is safe. I don't wish that upon anybody. Again, there's a likelihood that the people who were hit, might have had nothing to do with whatever was going on. Maybe they did. And maybe that was, their quote unquote op or whatever it may be. But in some of these situations, it's just a fight breaks out. There's liquor pouring, which, again, is another element that unfortunately, we just normalize. We normalize alcoholism, and we think that that is cool and it's just something to do. But it has destroyed, people's lives. It has destroyed families, etc. I'm likely going to do just, a video on that. How we've normalized alcoholism, how we've normalized being a junkie, in essence, and see that as being cool and just having fun. When in truth, it leads to these sorts of disastrous types of situations and these sorts of mentalities, or at least keeps individuals trapped in that ghetto mentality. But I always believe that we can do better. We can make different decisions and therefore have different outcomes in our lives. And that's really the end goal, to take control of as many elements of our lives and do the best that we can in those areas. Simple. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you found value in this content. If you want to show some love or some support, you can go ahead and send a Cash App or go ahead and buy me a coffee by clicking the link below, literally titled Buy Me a Coffee. Till the next time, peace. I fell in love with the sunshine.